So yeah, moving on, we have a game called ADOM and Legacy of Roguelikes by DoshDoshington, I believe. A channel that I have not seen, and from what I've seen, he only does like Factorio gameplay, let's play, like highly edited things. But this one video in particular that got recommended to me like really stood out because it's about old ass roguelike, and got recommended to me when a topic of Risk of Rain 2 came up, I think. I'm not sure. But yeah, this is an interesting topic to me, because they're like old roguelikes that I never seen. Like, yeah, like Rogue, which is the entire reason why it's called the roguelike genre, and like almost nobody knows what Rogue is, probably. Like those first procedurally generated games. I'm just kind of curious about, and yeah, how the, I don't know if this goes like very deep into the history of roguelikes. It seems like it focuses on that ADOM game, sadly. But, you know, the history of this like genre is always interesting to me, so yeah. Let's just get in there and see what ADOM is.
A term that's thrown around a lot these days. Roguelike is a term that's thrown around a lot these days, and it really boggles my noggle that most people who use it haven't even seen, let alone played, a traditional roguelike.
Yeah, exactly what I said.
It's not to be pedantic or elitist or anything, I just think more people should play them, but on the same hand, understand why more people don't.
Oh my fucking
With games
god.
like Caves of Clud, Cogmine, same hand under.
I mean, speaking of traditional roguelikes, I don't think you should be showing Elona while you're talking about traditional roguelikes. Holy shit, I remember that Seth review of this game. The way you describe it is like if FPS games were still called Doom clones. I guess that's kinda right, but roguelike just kinda sounds cool, so that's why it stayed. Calling something an X-clone just seems like derogatory, so the term didn't really stick. Boomer shooter, on the other hand, that's a fucking term that has staying power, you know.
Understand why more people don't. With games like Caves of Clud, Cogmine,
I still need to play like Caves of Clud because I'm so interested in that game.
Dark Days Ahead, and hundreds of others, despite being more numerous than ever, the genre remains incredibly niche, for reasons that will hopefully become self-evident by the time you're through with this video. But roguelikes hold a special place in my heart. As far back as kindergarten, I can recall playing Castle of the Winds, published in 1992 by the now rather notorious Epic Games. I remember talking to my teacher about it for like 20 minutes straight, and because I was 5 years old, I thought she was genuinely interested and asked my dad how to burn it onto a floppy disk as soon as I got home so I could give it to her the next day. No idea if she ever played it. Then there was the time I won the spelling bee in the first grade because I knew how to spell medium thanks to the spell Cure Medium Wounds. And the reason I knew what a corpse was before I could fully comprehend mortality. Oh yeah. And it's why I could touch type at like age 6 thanks to memorizing all the some dozen key bindings. But
Bro, teaching a kid giving a kid in elementary school a fucking classic roguelike with the classic keybind system is mind poison. Holy fuck.
Digress. I also played a good deal of NetHack, which my parents thought was a
also that's a classic, like kids seeing fucking zombies or like corpses or like kinda intuiting what death is because they played a bunch of video games instead of learning it. I don't know where else you're supposed to learn it, to be fair. Like, your parents won't fucking talk to you about death when you're like below age of 10 unless like a relative of you recently passed, you know, and they have to kind of explain it. But like, I think like engaging with movies and video games is like the most surefire way for your kid to, not like the recommended way, but like probably the way they're gonna, you know, do it. They say video games rot your brain.
But the game I really landed on was ADOM, or ADOM, whatever you want to call it. So before I decided to make
Never in my fucking life have I heard about
this video, I really considered whether a game with letters for graphics and the need to explain what's a wall and a door, as well as which one of these random symbols is the one
I mean, that's just fucking, like, when I see this, that's just, yeah, Cataclysm Dark Days Ahead, and, whatchamacallit, the Dwarf Fortress, especially if you're playing on, like, the classic, tile set, so, yeah. I think more people, like, people are familiar with this concept even if they have never played a game like this. I think, like, that's not a hard concept to grasp. Instead of fucking pictures or like sprites or like tiles, it's just, yeah, a hashtag.
I'm actually controlling.
That looks like a very neat way to sneak in playing a game at work. Looks like work at first glance. Yeah, this fucking looks like fucking just Excel spreadsheet. I think Seth literally made that joke in his Caves of Code video, where if a boss walks in on you playing this, he will be like, my man's Excel spreadsheet is looking fucked up. I better leave him to it.
Would be the best topic for a video. But this is my channel, I can do what I want with it. And what I want to do is talk about this game that I've been playing for over 20 years and know way too much about. And besides, I've heard what people really want is passion. And yeah, I can give you passion. Ancient Domains of Mystery originally came out in 1994 through various stages of alpha and beta, but the final version came out in 2002, which makes it a spring chicken compared to some OGs like NetHack and Angbond, but I'm still coming to terms with the fact that that was still a very long time ago. That was the version I played the most, with all its quirks and foibles still intact, like jackals and spiders becoming exponentially more difficult to kill until they rivaled the final boss, throwing potions of invisibility at enemies inexplicably making them give twice the experience, and being able to infinitely double your money by giving it to a dragon until you accidentally make so much you cause an integer overflow and crash the game. Oh yeah, and a fatal.
Man, bugs like that are always so fucking fun. I will never get over how fun Sims 3 infamous patch notes are. With like, you know, children will not leave the school when a meteor strike is called and just remain in there and die. Type of patch notes. But yeah, like feeding a dragon until he has so much gold he crashes the fucking game sounds like some classic roguelike shenanigans, man.
Crash anytime you dropped an ingot after smelting it or tried to eat the corpse of a werewolf king. And by the way, doesn't matter if you were playing that run for 20 hours, if you crashed once, you were never getting that character back. Regardless, we made it work back then.
What is that? What is fucking attacking him right now?
We're never getting that character back.
Spectre.
Regardless, we made it.
But why is there so many of them and they're like going through the fucking walls and shit?
If you crashed once, you were never getting that character back.
Or is that like a visualization of you're not sure which space the ghost occupies because he's like kind of you know, translucent or whatever? Total War also had some very fun ones, like Tamur Khan can no longer have his giant toad dragon mount stolen from under him. It could be just a lot of ghosts, to be fair, but that seems a lot of ghosts to fight at once, you know? Also, fire spells now deal fire damage. Okay, that's the best one. What the fuck were they doing before?
Regardless, we made it work back then, but imagine my shock when suddenly the developers started up an Indiegogo campaign out of nowhere to revive ADOM and resume development, eventually reaching 187% of their goal and ultimately bringing ADOM to Steam in 2015. Yeah, so I'm a little late to the party, but better late than never, I suppose. Alright, enough of the history lessons. What the heck is ADOM? Well, it's a tile-based, top-down, turn-based RPG with procedural generation, permadeath, and ASCII graphics. With the 2015 release, there's actually tile sets now.
Like I said, it's just when you have exactly like Dwarf Fortress. It's so easy to swap symbols to pictures and it's like the same game. So like, yeah, I think most people understand the concept of like a game where it's just literally a Excel spreadsheet, playable Excel spreadsheet. But yeah, then you have to like wonder what G is instead of looking at a picture and going, oh, that's a fucking ghost. Or like, oh, that's a horde of ghosts coming through the walls to eat my ass. I think I'm fucking done, boys. I wonder if this is like Conquest of Elysium where everything that dies makes a ghost. I don't think, because he killed a couple of things and I don't think that happened.
And I tried to use them, but it just felt deeply and viscerally wrong. Like you're sitting on the couch and you just know that some creature of the night is shapeshifted into your wife, but you're too afraid to say anything. Also was actually making me worse at the game because I didn't recognize any.
Yeah, like he killed a bunch of creatures there and no ghost. Unless there needs to be like specific conditions where there's, I don't know, a necromancer around or like a cursed object that revives everything into a ghost.
Of the monsters, so ASCII it is. It might not be the best for the video, but let's just say it's for that authentic roguelike experience. So if you want to play Adam, first you need to make a character, and to do that you need to choose the month you were born on. Back in my day, you didn't get to choose, it was just random and you kept quitting over and over until you got the one you wanted. In my objectively correct opinion, the Raven is flagrantly better than all the others, but shoutouts to the candle and to the tree if you're new, I guess. Then you choose male or female and your race. It might seem complicated, but realistically it narrows down to the question, are you a wizard? If not, does your class start with the Find Weakness skill? If not, choose a Dark Elf. Otherwise, choose anything but a Troll. Finally, you're ready to choose your class. Alright, so I've beaten the game with most of these, and let me simplify it for you. There we go.
Archer, Wars Fighter, Alternate Fighter, Wars Fighter, Wars Fighter, Alternate Wizard, Archer/Fighter, Wizard, Alt Fighter, Wars Wizard, Fighter, Painful, Wars Fighter, Wars Fighter, Wars Fighter, Wars Fighter, Wars Wizard, Wars Fighter, Wars Wizard. Who is Painful? Mindcrafter. Yo, they had fucking Minecraft in 90 whatever. Let's go. What does Mindcrafter do though? You heard him, don't be a troll. So there was a way to troll yourself in a single player game. Interesting, curious.
Alright, so I've beaten the game with most of these, and let me simplify it for you. There we go. In fact, let me put this all onto a tier list.
You know what? Calling a priest Wars Wizard kinda works in any fantasy setting if you really think about it.
Simplify it for you. There we go. In fact, let me put this all onto a tier list. Again, this is all objectively correct. As you can see, there's a bit of a power gap, and that's because archers and wizards specialize in killing things from places where they can't get killed from.
Which is classic overpower fucking any RPG, you know. Range is always broken in any RPG you can think of. Any fucking RPG you can think of, because like range lends itself to abusing AI so fucking easily, man.
Melee fighters haven't quite figured out yet. On top of that, archers handily outdamage every other class, while wizards just do everything. Everyone in F tier is either just plain bad or a worse version of another class.
Why would you... Look at this shit. Why would you want to play a merchant or a farmer in a fucking dungeon crawler? What the fuck? This ain't Dwarf Fortress, man. You're not making a settlement. You're going into the dungeon to kill something. What the hell? That's why every setting invents teleportation. They don't want ranged to be paramount. And then like teleportation becomes like the most overpowered thing because you can disengage at a moment's notice for the challenge because roleplay. You know what? That's kinda fair.
Like Mindcrafters, really interesting and unique abilities, and a great challenge class if you want meeting a single Ghost King to be a run-ending experience. Priests and druids are just worse wizards, then there's merchants, farmers, and thieves. Again, great if you're looking for a challenge, but you win by killing things, not pickpocketing them to death. There's a lot of curious design choices in this game. Like, half the skills are straight up useless, but I'm getting ahead of myself.
Oh, there was gardening. Gardening allows planting herb bushes and gathering herb seeds from blossoming bushes. You can literally play fucking farming simulator inside ADOM for some reason. What the fuck? Imagine just playing Binding of Isaac and you're stopping your run to start a little house and a fucking garden to grow some items. What? Saw bridge building for trolls. There is no fucking way. Are you trolling me?
Choices in this game. Like,
there is bridge building. What the fuck are you talking about, man? Allows building bridges. Doesn't this game take place in a dungeon or something? Why would you need to build a fucking bridge? What? No, ain't no shot. This game is mental. Wait, this is Minecraft? Holy shit, this is Minecraft. I was fucking kidding before.
Half the skills are
Traps,
straight up
that's, you know, normal.
useless, but I'm
Law. You can be a fucking lawyer in this one, I guess. Provides messages when the player character performs lawful chaotic acts. What the fuck does that even mean? I guess you can just play as fucking Saul from Better Call Saul and like go to trial with the wizard of the dungeon.
getting ahead of myself.
There was also ventriloquism, but maybe that's used like... Ventriloquism can be used to confuse monsters for several turns. What the fuck? That doesn't seem like what ventriloquism should do. I thought it's like making puppets, as in like a little NPCs you can control to like scout or fight for you. Huh. So weird. Minecraft became so popular it influenced games backwards in time. Minecraft is on SCP. That's kinda, you know what? That's kinda true though.
Alright, so finally you get to choose your stats. And I don't care how magical you plan to be, you want strength and toughness. Also, appearance and charisma are almost entirely worthless, so get rid of those.
Classic RPGs where no matter that you're a wizard, you need to have a lot of strength to fucking punch things really hard.
Still not done. Now you need to choose a talent, and just look at all these possibilities. What to pick? Well, I've got news for you, buddy. If you didn't pick Alert, you are an idiot. Perception might seem worthless, but you can only get Alert at the start of the game, and not getting it locks you out of hands down the best talent in the game, Treasure Hunter. So yeah, pick that one.
To put it simply, it makes enemies drop more items. Seems like a thing you really want. You really want something like this in a dungeon crawling game.
And now if you want to actually play the game, you need to memorize dozens of key bindings.
Classic.
Memorized them all yet? Good. Now you can run around the overworld and starve to death because you haven't yet realized that you need to press greater than to actually enter an area on the map. I really got to wonder what this looks like to all you unenlightened viewers, because all I can see are lush forests, verdant fields, and vertiginous mountains that we'll mostly be ignoring. Once you've figured out how to actually enter a dungeon, the gameplay is pretty simple. This is your health, don't let it reach 0. That's it. Well, apart from starvation, death rays, old age, getting sacrificed, entering the chaos portal, petrification, hearing a banshee scream, getting eaten by a grue, choking on your own vomit, kicking the staircase, getting crushed by your own inventory, and reaching maximum corruption, as long as it's not any of those things, as long as your HP remains above 0, you're good. All the moving letters that aren't you are enemies, and to attack them you just walk into them. You can also shoot them with missiles or blast them with magic. Reduce their hit points to 0.
What the fuck is that enemy spam?
With missiles or blast them with magic.
There are so many of them. What the fuck is that?
Reduce their hit points to 0.
Jesus Christ.
You'll get some experience and maybe items. Realistically, most of the gameplay is mashing your face against things until one of you falls over, but as sure...
You know what? It's kinda weirdly simple for this kind of game that you just fight by, I mean melee obviously, because ranged is a different thing, but like you just kind of fight by walking into things. That's kind of weirdly simple for a game like this. I was expecting it to be like a separate input that if you didn't learn, you will not win any fucking fights. I 100% played this. I remember running around and starving now. It basically is Ultima. I didn't have a chance to play that one, so...
For you, it's everything surrounding.
But yeah, it does look like a lot of games, other games that I've seen, like, again, Dwarf Fortress comes to mind on like the most classic tile set.
That which is complicated. You've got your equipment, your inventory, your weapon skills, your stats, your talents, your class abilities, your...
And yeah, like Rogue, the original roguelike, also I think looked like this, so... But, you know, they Yeah, most old roguelikes work like that, but the complex part is all the other things beyond the basic attack. Oh yeah, like he said, you have like starving, fucking corruption, you can get like mind controlled, you can get this or that, or your equipment can crash you. Like there's a lot of other things you need to think about other than the basic attack and hitting things.
Defense value, your protection value, and your hidden intrinsics that you can only see by drinking a potion. All things that determine how effectively you can mash your face against things. If you get enough experience, you'll level up and get to train some skills. You'll also get more health, and at certain levels, you'll get access to unique class abilities. Much like any dungeon crawler, your goal is to get strong enough to eventually beat the game by gaining experience, raising your stats, and finding better gear. Really, that's it. Just running around procedurally generated dungeons and trying to avoid dying. To me, the most interesting aspect of games like this is that because it's turn-based, the gameplay is purely strategic. I mean, you could have nothing but a nose and still beat Adam. Every ounce of fun this game has to offer is derived from the effective...
This was a very shitty choice on the part of the person making the video, because my ears are like fucking hurting from the sounds of the speed-up footage.
Application of acquired knowledge, as well as contending against RN Jesus. Actually getting that knowledge, however, is the real challenge, and it's only through... Like,
I get it, that was a cool visual. He should have muted the in-game audio for that effect not to come through so strongly.
Many deaths that you'll start to understand even an ounce of how to beat a game like this. I was going to script out this big wall of text talking about the many challenges and difficulties in getting into most roguelikes, but instead of that, I've decided to simply explain what I need to do when I'm trying to get an ultimate ending in Adam. So I decided to make a Dark Elven Barbarian born on the Raven, Pick Alert, and Miser to unlock...
There's like endings and shit, that's interesting. I wonder what the story actually of Adam is. I don't think he explained it yet.
Treasure Hunter and enter my name. The first thing I do is unequip one of the swords the game started me with, because wielding two is way worse than just one. Then I go to Lawin and Ulthethel and immediately obliterate a beggar. It'll make sense later, okay? Then I head over to Taranyo and grab the Elder's Quest before heading down to the dungeon. This character didn't start with the healing skill, so this is almost necessary. We're desperate for any equipment that offers PV, which is armor and a direct reduction on damage received, and if you have below like 4 or 5, you'll just die to everything. If we go all the way to the bottom, we'll find the Mad Carpenter. Instead of killing him, we lead him to Gerard the Healer, who will turn him back to normal and teach us the healing skill as long as our alignment isn't chaotic, which I can rectify by offering 1 gold coin at a time to this neutral altar. As soon as I have healing, I head to another dungeon to save a girl's puppy. I don't care whether it lives or dies, I'm just here for the experience. There's ants on level 2, and I really want them to drop a corpse because eating it makes you vomit and permanently gives intrinsic acid resistance. Near the bottom, I find 7 league boots.
Okay, mental illness, the video game. Oh, that's so classic RPGs, man. Like finding the trait, like yeah, even Fallouts and shit where doing some stupid shit made you, gave you unique traits that were really good.
Which are insanely rare to find this early.
But like this is already 10 times, obviously 10 times more complicated than any Fallout.
Boots in the game, except they're cursed and make me move 50% slower, so trying desperately to avoid killing a cat, I run back to the altar and sacrifice enemies that stand on top of it until the neutral god is very pleased. I drop everything on the altar and that gives me holy water, which I can use to bless the boots and get the intended benefit of 25% less energy to move and extremely fast travel times on the overworld. Back in the puppy cave, the puppy is dead, but who cares? I give its corpse back to the girl and she cries, and now I'm strong enough to head into the main dungeon, the Caverns of Chaos. Chaos is scheming to take over the world from the depths of this dungeon, and it's up to us to stop it by closing the portal at the bottom.
Oh, so it's kind of a simple story, really.
There's this big room, and those green quotation marks are herbs. It's important to force them to grow in squares because they follow the rules of Conway's Game of Life, and a square is the easiest stable shape that won't cause them to wither and allows us to continuously pick them. I want Stomophilia, Spenceweed, Morgia roots, and Moss of Marilon. They can be used to raise certain stats and heal. Also,
literally fucking farming simulator pretending to be a dungeon crawler. That's kind of funny.
So there's another cat that I've got to get away from and lock it behind these doors because you really don't want to kill cats. Deeper in is the Dwarven City. We want to ask the Dwarven Elder about quests. He'll tell us to kill something random, and as soon as I do that, I'm given the Potion of Literacy, which will allow my illiterate barbarian to read. As soon as I can read, I dip the scrolls of Identify I found into my holy water and then read one to instantly identify everything in my inventory. If you didn't know how to bless water on an altar and then use that to bless items, well, looks like you're an idiot. We're given another quest to go deeper and traverse either the Dwarven Halls or the Animated Forest. The latter is annoying and requires high defense as well as patience, while the Dwarven Halls are an excellent place to die because they can spawn any monster, which usually results in getting insta-killed by a great karmic worm. So to improve my chances, I hang out in the big room until a blink dog spawns. They can summon more blink dogs, and so I wait around until they call in even more. Their corpse is very useful and will allow me to naturally control teleportation after eating it. I eventually get one, but also get a second corpse.
Makes sense, naturally.
I sell that to the shopkeeper in Dwarftown because corpses don't rot in stores. With Control Teleport, I can now go to the Dusty Dungeon and teleport using a teleport trap into the secret room to get the guaranteed Wand of Teleportation. With this, I can safely traverse the Dwarven Halls, but it's also an incredible tool for general survivability. Beyond that, we find Kelavaster, the Dying Sage. We need him to live, and despite being on the verge of death, he'll be fine as long as we don't talk to him. I complete the Dwarves quest and get the Wand of Fireballs. With this, we can safely take on the Pyramid on the Overworld, which will close permanently if we don't beat it before reaching level 17. There's many strong enemies at the top, and Rehetep is a formidable foe, but he's weak to fire and the wand will kill him almost instantly. He drops 2 artifacts. His Ankh makes you lucky, and his mummy wrapping is barely passable as early game armor, but we want it for the ice immunity and sea invisible intrinsics it offers. With that, we can confidently complete the dwarf's next quest to conquer the arena. You're stuck in a fight to the death, but the
Holy shit, this whole game is like a one giant knowledge check, basically. If you don't know where that item is that will help you defeat this boss, you are kinda fucked, I guess. Kinda wild, but also, holy does it look like an interesting ass game.
Wand of Teleportation will allow us to escape if we start losing, or to teleport out any cats that we're put up against. The 20th fight is often against an invisible opponent with ice magic, but we got the troll this time. We get the Golden Gladius as a reward and trade it to the Grizzled Gladiator in Dwarftown to learn the tactics and backstabbing skills. The final quest is to kill a greater demon in the city, and we get an artifact for our efforts. With those out of the way, we can now ask him about a portal despite not seeing it yet because the Dying Sage is blocking the stairs to actually reach it. Regardless, he'll tell us to go kill a necromancer in this graveyard all the way over here. If you're immune to cold, Nonak's a pushover. What you want to do is defile this grave and get Nonak's sword. It sucks, but we can use it later. Also, make sure you search this hidden wall and get the elemental gauntlets. So yeah, roguelikes can be a little complicated, and all of that knowledge is written in blood. Either that or with liberal use of a wiki, but even if you're playing with a wiki open on another monitor, it won't save you because you don't know what you don't know. You've been watching this for a while, but even now there's no way you could guess which monster on this screen is the most dangerous. Is it the big black W? The brown Y? Well, if you guessed the black L, you're correct. That's an Emperor Lich, capable of killing you instantly with death rays, permanently draining your stats, summoning dozens of powerful monsters, and repeatedly healing itself to max HP. I know this because I've died to them before, but no observer has any chance of ascertaining anything implicitly. Unless you've played the game as much as me, you'll have zero reaction to me suddenly walking in on this giant crowd of Lich Kings, but immediately I'm given pause and decide to silently summon a door before they notice me. Despite being simple.
Okay, summon a door might be the greatest spell I have ever seen. Just like... And now I don't have to deal with that now I don't have to deal with that room. That's great, man. NetHack also had the weird strat of immediately summoning and sleeping with a succubus, because she would either give you a level up or a level down randomly for doing so. It's the Looney Tunes method. Yeah, it kinda fucking is, if you think about it. Man, games running on Looney Tunes logic are great.
Text, I've developed some very powerful affective responses to every enemy in the game, and that's one of the most interesting aspects to me. Even without sophisticated graphics, I'm immersed. I'm tired of acting like advanced graphics are necessary to create a compelling experience, but I will acquiesce that it does help with accessibility for reasons aforementioned. I'm probably not going to blow any minds when I say that accessibility is the main reason roguelikes remain an incredible niche. They're about as accessible as a brick wall, and the issues with conveyance definitely hinders their reach. You don't see many people streaming ADOM or most other roguelikes very often, and those who do are either already experienced with the game or doing it for an audience entirely comprised of other players. It's a very personal game, and no one but you will really understand it, because all of the interesting things here are going on inside of my head, and unless you're the government, you probably can't read that. Even though I think roguelikes are more popular now than ever, it just so happens that they've only ever been popular with massive nerds. If you don't implicitly enjoy learning things and challenging yourself, I'm not sure you could ever enjoy a traditional roguelike, but there's just something compelling about slowly learning and then applying your knowledge. That's probably why I ended up liking Factorio so much. It's a similar experience of feeling like you never stop learning and always being able to apply what you've learned in new and interesting ways. Since I found a Ring of the Fish, I decided to look for the hidden underwater staircase on the map. This place has several monsters that will instantly kill someone my level, but fortunately I can simply teleport to the middle and talk to the water dragon. I tell the baby water dragon where his mom is, and because I was born on the Raven, I get the rune-covered trident at level 16 instead of 36. The trident is reasonably powerful, so I take on Darkforge. It's guarded by several steel golems, which all have extremely high PV. Just to be safe, I use stair hopping to deal with them one at a time. Critical hits are the only way I can reliably deal damage to them. Critical hits deal double damage, and you only have a 5% chance to crit, but with Find Weakness it becomes a 24% chance. That might sound extremely good already, but the double damage is applied before the enemy's protection value, so if your max damage is 51 and your opponent has 50 PV, you will only ever be able to deal 1 damage because the rest gets negated. But if you crit, suddenly you'll swing for 102 damage and deal 52 damage. That's not double damage, that's 52 times the damage, so understandably, against monsters like steel golems, having your chance to actually deal damage...
That fucking Find Weakness is busted then. Holy shit. He wasn't fucking kidding that it's essential. Jesus Christ. There was a weird speedrun in Ocarina of Time that let you pull out a door from your inventory to place it against a wall. I didn't think to see it in a real use though. It's kind of funny.
Damage go from 1 in 20 to 1 in 4 is, pretty good. That's why you always play Dark Elves. Also, they have Alertness, a skill which lets you dodge traps 50% of the time and dodge most magical attacks for free. So yeah, coming with 2 of the best skills in the game regardless of your class is pretty convenient.
It sure is.
Darkforge has these rooms filled with weapons and armor. You mainly check for any Red Dragon Scale Mail or Eternium Plate armor, which is extremely useful for the next challenge. But the main reason I'm here are for these pools. I can't make any progress without saving Calavaster first, and the only way to do that is with an Amulet of Life Saving. It's an extremely rare item that you can play for hundreds of hours without seeing, but there is a way to get it, and that's wishing for it. But wishes don't come easy. To prepare, I switch to lawful alignment and sacrifice monsters until the god is very close to me. Also, there's this stupid cat I need to deal with. Getting your god very close will immediately reward you with the lucky...
He just fucking locked that cat in a room.
...and Fate Smiles intrinsics. It will also allow us to remove any doomed and cursed intrinsics. With that, I'm ready to start chugging pools. Immediately, I'm doomed. Do not chug pools while doomed. I don't have time to go into detail, but being doomed is bad. I run to the altar on the surface and cleanse myself, but then it's back to pools. Generally, drinking pools is a bad idea because the negative effects outweigh the positive, and suddenly I've lost the ability to control teleportation and I've become corrupted. Oh yeah, corruption. While you're playing, you're slowly being corrupted. The effects range from positive to...
I feel like I'm digesting Madman's knowledge in Bloodborne because, like, the longer I stare at this video, the symbols are becoming, like, things I can intuit and understand, and that kinda scares me because I never played a game with a tile set like this. Holy shit. Traditional roguelikes usually have skills that between completely busted and utterly useless. Yeah, that's literally every roguelike ever, even the modern ones where in Risk of Rain or Binding of Isaacs, there are items that are literally never pick it up because it will fuck up your run, or if you get this item, you already won. The symbols are starting to speak to you. In fact, something being balanced is usually very rare. Kinda true.
Benign to literally unplayable. If you reach 100% corruption, you die. And then it asks me what I'd like to wish for, and obviously it's got to be an Amulet of Life Saving. I got pretty lucky here. I only got doomed once and only had to drain like 7 pools. Also, this is why I saved that Blink Dog corpse, because I knew losing telecontrol is a major risk of pool chugging. I save Calavaster by giving him the amulet, and he gives me some items in return, most notably 6 scrolls of corruption removal, which I use. Now that his fat butt isn't blocking the staircase, I can venture deeper, through this massive graveyard here, and then this area that I need to dig through the wall to access. It's a special area with a boss holding the Chaos Orb of Water, one of the 5 that we'll need to unlock the final boss. I'm strong, so I take it out no problem. Also, it helps if you've eaten a spider corpse to get poison resistance. Then there's this level filled with corpses. You should have some beeswax from kicking a beehive.
The shit he says casually, like, oh yeah, you should have eaten a spider to get the venom resistance. This cracks me up, man. I grew up playing this sort of thing, but there was, again, NetHack, but there was also an awesome fan-made Doom roguelike. Oh shit. So I can't go back to seeing symbols. Who makes a graveyard deep in a dungeon? Probably a necromancer. NetHacks get broken if you play as a woman, shapeshift into a basilisk, lay a bunch of eggs, then shapeshift back into a human and pick them up with gloves. Congrats, you have throwing eggs that insta-kill most things in the game. Huh, that's fucked up but also brilliant.
So use it to plug your ears because the Banshee will insta-kill you otherwise. Kill her, and now this is as deep as we can get because of an apparent wall of fire. Also, somehow I picked up a Wand of Wishing with 2 charges on it somewhere. This is a blessed run. We now need to go to the surface and tackle the Tower of Eternal Flames. It's the most challenging part of any run and makes or breaks most attempts. Just to prepare, I drop anything that isn't an artifact or made out of adamantium or better because they'll just melt. Things in my backpack will be protected as long as I have a fireproof blanket, but it's not foolproof. Rings are safe thanks to the elemental gauntlets covering them, but just standing inside this place causes me to constantly take heat damage with only 2 sources of fire resistance. Okay, while I go through here, hopefully you have some idea of how this game works by now, because what I really wanted to do in this video was complain. Adam has some of the most bizarre balancing. Half of the class abilities are blatantly worthless. We're playing a barbarian, and here's his abilities. This one's great, these are okay, but these take longer than attacking twice or thrice to deal double or triple damage.
Mighty blows that cause double damage for the cost of 2,500 energy points. They can deliver tremendous blows that cause triple damage for the cost of 4,000 energy points.
Yeah, it can help bypass high PV enemies, but if you miss, you're just standing there like an idiot for 4 turns. And if you need to bypass PV, you're probably fighting something strong and will probably die if it crits you twice while you're helpless. So against anything weak, you don't need it, and anything strong just kills you because you're committed to standing around after you inevitably miss. These are even better. True Berserker is when you remove all of your armor and change your tactics to Berserk, which reduces your defenses even further. It almost feels like a prank, like, hey, go take off all your armor and attack that monster, it'll be great, trust me. I swear I remember reading a million years ago that at least back in 2002, the creator of Adam couldn't even beat his own game, and maybe I hallucinated it because I couldn't find any sources for that, but it would explain so much. Like, here's the Weaponsmith. There's some alright abilities, but automatic metal type detection? You can tell what metal something is by how much it weighs. Every class can do that. And level 50, weapon damage identification? Let's ignore the fact that most characters don't even reach level 50 by the time they win, but even if you did, you're probably using an artifact weapon so you don't care. And even then you can just tell with a single scroll of Identify or just by holding it. Fire immunity at level 32. I mean, it's not worthless, but you'd want it before the Tower of Eternal Flames. And at level 32, you're probably gearing up to beat the game already.
Yeah, that sounds like a dev bizarrely unfamiliar with his own product. Like, who the fuck made the game then? The demons living inside his head? Like, his neighbor just came in and did like the second part of the game? That's so weird. The basilisk interactions in NetHack are a thing of legend. There's so many corner cases that it's insane. I mean, it sounds like you fucking touch a stone egg without a glove and you instantly die. Sounds like a problem. Google sucks so hard it's impossible to search for a lot of articles ordered there in a few years. Oh, fucking true, man. This is like when the XCOM devs got mad people were playing slowly and cautiously, so they added meld to get players to play faster. Imagine playing a fucking strategy game, a single player strategy game, cautiously and slowly, man. Nah, let's punish those motherfuckers. people from the Z dimension popped in for a second to do it, just to prank the creator of the game.
Which leads me to the fact that experience is kind of messed up because you'll be stuck in the 20s for about half the game, then suddenly shoot up to the 40s as soon as you can kill a certain 3 enemies. An Emperor Lich will give like 10,000 experience, but a Greater Moloch will give 150,000. And yeah, they're dangerous if you stand there, but they're so slow that you can hit them, walk backwards, and wait for them to move, and then hit them again. They'll never get a swing in. And you know, hands down, the most dangerous enemy in the game? It's not an Emperor Lich, it's not the final boss, it's not even the secret final boss or the super secret final boss, it's a goddamn ultimate doppelganger. They are indistinguishable from weaker doppelgangers and any other enemy that happens to share your color of Atmark, like cavemen in the case of barbarians. One lapse in concentration is all it takes for an endgame character to be instantly obliterated by one. They copy your DV and PV, your speed, always hit through your armor, and deal damage equal to 20% of your max HP. If that's not bad enough, they can still crit, and because the game is psychopathic, can spawn more experience and attack more than once in one turn. It is almost impossible to kill one in melee, so all you can do as a melee character is go coward and use a wand of fireballs until it dies. And what does the bane of my existence
Which is fucking and you need to like identify that it's that thing first. Holy shit. If they didn't want people to play it carefully, why does everyone perma die with only one hit? It's so weird when devs don't seem to know their own game. Also remember, we are talking about XCOM, the fucking hit chance casino that can fuck you even if you played everything perfectly. I have a segment. I'm editing the Mechanicus video, you know, in my spare time now, and like I'm halfway done with it. And yeah, I have a segment talking about the fucking XCOM chance to hit bullshit.
give? Like 5,000 experience. They used to be called Doppelganger Kings, and that tells me that the creator looked at one and was like, yeah, everything else is fine, but the name though? What's that? You want to hear about even more useless class abilities? Look no further than the Druid, because everything revolves around the overworld. You're only ever in the overworld to get from place to place. Being stronger but only in the wilderness is like having the ability to swim better but only when you're driving a car. And immunity to weather effects, there's only like one negative effect, and that's rain, which can ruin your scrolls, but a single cloak makes you immune, or even a waterproof blanket, which every run will eventually have, but apparently it's so good he thought the Ranger and the Elementalist should have it too. You might think that class abilities are just underwhelming, but no, look at the Archer. Every ability is incredible. Shooting faster, immune to enemy projectiles, piercing armor, shooting through enemies. Now that's a level 50 ability. And compare that with the Thief, who can go invisible when he's next to a wall, even though every other class can get permanent invisibility from a relatively common item. And all the endgame enemies can see through invisibility anyway. Then there's the skills, and for every skill like Find Weakness, you have something like Gemology or Woodcraft, almost entirely worthless.
But no, I'm 100% like bro came up with the viable classes first, and then he was like, okay, but I should have more classes in the game. So he just came up with some bullshit, and then probably was like, no, it's not that I came up with a bad class, actually it's a challenger run class. I do play XCOM aggressively and beat an XCOM to an Iron Man impossible, but I am insane. XCOM is a good game. It doesn't mean that XCOM doesn't have shit mechanics for some of the stuff in there. Because like, you know, the team building aspect, the art, obviously, the strategic gameplay, that all of that shit is great, but like it has some like problems in other, you know, things. This is weird. The Ranger is usually useful, unlike D&D. To be fair, D&D also had this issue in the early editions. Sometimes you would get a basic +1 to hit at the same level another class gets permanent haste and the ability to instantly kill someone once per day. I remember looking for an info on a wiki on the reg for months on end to beat a lesser known title. Then out of nowhere information on the game disappeared from the internet. After tracking down the owner of the wiki, it turns out that the hosting just ran out and he didn't notice because the site was more than 20 years old. Yeah, information loss is a nightmare for those older titles. True, man, true. That's why Steam is so fucking based, because if you are playing Mechanicus is so weirdly underground but it doesn't really need a guide. Mechanicus is very simple. But like, when you want guides, even if you want to know what each class does, it's so hard to research Mechanicus. But if you go onto Steam and go into discussions and guides, you will easily find like what you are looking for. Steam is a godsend because of the community tabs. They are so fucking good for information preservation for games.
Or law, which is literally worthless because it only tells you that you did something unlawful after you've already done it. So even in the one instance...
So, yeah, since this game has like a Steam release now, you can bet your ass there are some people who wrote a great, passionate, long-ass guide on the Steam like guide section.
So where you're going for the paragon of law just to get the overpowered girdle at the end because you never did an unlawful act, it's still worthless. I could talk about this for literal hours going down the whole list. I'm going to try to contain my nerdiness, but I've wanted to complain about this stuff for over 20 years, and now I have an audience, so you're gonna carry this weight. Okay, so the Chaos Worm shows up, and thanks to my Ring of Mental Stability, I'm safe from his potentially devastating confusion attacks. I throw a cursed potion of invisibility at him to blind him before backstabbing him multiple times. The Chaos Orb of Fire is excellent because it gives us plus 10 to strength simply by holding it in the tool slot. Now I go northwest across these mountains and into this dungeon. At the bottom is this lake of killer fish. If you jump in, you will almost certainly die. Don't fight the Skeleton King without a Ring of Mental Stability either, because he can confuse you and you'll wander helplessly into the water and die. Once he's dead, use a Wand of Cold to build a bridge across, but drop everything first or else you'll be too heavy and the ice will break. That'll get us the Ring of the High Kings.
Again, man, this is some insane fucking bullshit, but I love it. I'm here for it, man. Mechanicus has weird classes that only become fantastic long ways in. Yeah, I have most of my review of Mechanicus is just talking about the mechanics because the story is like kinda nothing. So it's like presentation, music, obviously how faithful it is to 40k, and the big part is the gameplay. And like, I still think going full melee and the other class that goes only ranged is kind of a waste, because like, instead of that, you could just have 3 weapon attacks, but if you go full melee, it's just 1 attack per turn, and that sucks because that robs you of so many actions you could take, you know. And besides, like, the two most powerful classes in Mechanicus, I think, like, is the guy who can summon troops for one skill point is so fucking insanely broken. And the other class that can cast canticles for free, because the game is over if you get that skill. You just get infinite cognition points and infinite healing. Full melee includes the arc weapons, although those might be from the DLC. Okay, I guess I didn't catch that, unless you are talking about the gadgets. I'm just not sure. But like, for me, the most optimal strategy, they let you get 2 free attacks that have massive AoE. What the fuck? I don't remember that at all. I played with the DLC, but I still don't remember that at all. I mean, with the Heretic expansion. I guess I didn't explore that. But like, for me, the most optimal strategy was just have the most damaging weapons equipped in every single slot, because I had literally infinite cognition points. I could just spam away.
Back in the Caverns of Chaos, we can pass the Wall of Fire with the orb we just got, and then get past the Eternal Guardian standing on the stairs further below by wearing the ring from that lake. That leads us to the casino. Yes, the casino. The highlight is the shop filled with useless, overpriced garbage, and the ritual is to pick everything up, read a blessed scroll of Identify, and then drop it all in a corner so you can conveniently skim through it all. And yep, everything sucks, so moving on. Deeper in is this special level where we can find the Cat Lord. He's friendly and gives us what is essentially the best artifact in the entire game because we didn't kill any cats. If we had, he'd be hostile and stronger for every cat we've killed. Avoiding them is harder than it sounds, and he will annihilate anyone who's unprepared. But here's some things that he doesn't consider killing. Hiring someone else to kill them for you, repeatedly luring them over traps until they die, and corrupting them until they turn into writhing masses of primordial chaos, just to name a few. Doesn't matter if it used to be a cat, it's all good. Anyway, I could probably start beating the game right now, but I'm going for the ultimate ending. I head to Darkforge and grab the Crown of Science. Wearing it makes you doomed, which I abuse to get more wilderness encounters to find giant boars. I kill them until one drops a skull. Then I need to switch alignments, so I dig up some graves for free stuff and obliterate some innocent H's until I'm chaotic. And with that, I can now talk to the demented Ratling. He wants 6 artifacts, and I've got plenty of trash artifacts like the Sword of Nonak with me to feed him. He tells us the secret of how to get into the Stone Circle, but I'll do that later. Now I go to the mountain village and talk to Baba Yaga. If you're not chaotic, you can't do these quests. She wants the skull, then a scroll of danger, and some other things I've been holding on to just for this. It's best to do these quests earlier because it's difficult to change your alignment towards lawful if you're high level. That gives us the Medal of Chaos. It corrupts us by just having it in our inventory, so we'll just stash that away for later. I want to go back to lawful, so I drop everything and offer 1 coin at a time to a neutral altar. Because the gods are angry at me, they try to obliterate all my equipment, but I'm carrying nothing but artifacts, so I'm safe to slowly raise my alignment. Eventually I'm back to lawful, and soon enough, lawful...
That's such a... I have to say, games like this, with like evil, a basic alignment, like you can be good, evil, chaotic, neutral, whatever. Doesn't it defeat the entire purpose of the fucking system if you introduce a shrine that can change your alignment whenever you want? Like, am I the only one who finds that kind of fucking annoying? Like, they made a system and they just didn't commit to it. It's so weird, but... To be fair, you will, in every game like this, you will find a way to farm negative or positive points, so it almost never matters, so. In the first 2 Baldur's Gate, you could donate a shitload of charity to change reputation, and that makes sense to me. If it's like a significant grind, as in you need to sacrifice a lot of equipment, then I guess... it's fine. You do need to be prepared to change alignment because the gods would smite your ass otherwise. Yeah, there is also what he said that gods would destroy his equipment if he didn't unequip it, but he can unequip it and leave it on the ground. So...
Plus, it's like those murders never happened. Next I drop my inventory on level 40 and dig my way in here. Inside is the Air Temple and the Master Summoner. As his name implies, he summons things, which can range from goblins to a dozen ultimate doppelgangers and emperor liches. Sometimes you just get really unlucky. We didn't, so he dies and drops the Orb of Air. I grab all my stuff
RNG enemies are the worst, man. Holy.
Again, and immediately hit the Earth Temple. Everything here walks through walls, which is bad if you let yourself be surrounded, but we kill the ancient stone beast and get the Orb of Earth. I also eat its corpse. It massively corrupts me, but as a melee fighter, the strength and toughness it gives is worth it. And can I just say how absolutely deranged the player is? You can just go around devouring everything. Rats, goblins, humans, anything's fair game to this guy. You can eat an entire titan and still not be satisfied. Even a paragon of law can just consume a bandit right in front of all his friends like it's nothing. All of your calories are forfeit to this guy. Whatever, down here I get the message, you feel truly excited. And doing a monster detection reveals it's a greater undead vault. Do not attempt to do one of these, the artifacts are not worth losing half of your stats to liches. Here's another vault, it's red dragons. Feel free to do these, and that gets me up to level 30. I go to the infested temple on the surface and kill all these greater claw bugs. I make it look easy, but these things will shred you apart and dodge every attack without an extremely high hit chance. Inside, I change my tactics to Coward and Wand of Fireballs them to death. Make sure you summon doors on all these gaps, because, bugs can't open doors. I need to kill tons of killer bugs, and walking into this place apparently killed so many noobs that the developer blocked off this whole area until you've died a total of 100 times. Inside the main room is a bunch of statues. Kick them apart, and we get some useful items. What I'm after are the 8 scrolls of magic mapping hidden in one. With those, I head over to the Minotaur maze, which closes after level 30. This isn't required, but I want the reward at the bottom. Okay, so to me, the appeal of roguelikes is that it's more about learning the game rather than memorizing it, and I think that concept will be compelling no matter where it crops up. When the original Rogue was developed for Unix machines in 1980, the procedural generation was more of a concession, or a sort of soft workaround to the severe memory limitations of—
Yeah, I did guess correctly that Rogue was literally like this.
computers at the time.
I guess, I mean, I saw it like in a screenshot or whatever, I guess. That's more merciful than a D&D. If you change alignment, you lost a whole level. That seems quite a punishment for changing an alignment.
You simply couldn't fit a bunch of handmade levels into it. But if instead you left enough room in memory to hold one level at a time, as well as an algorithm capable of creating new levels on the fly, well, they inadvertently stumbled upon a very powerful gameplay mechanic. I'm not really a journalist, I'm just some nerd who talks about video games, so I'm not going to split hairs about the fact that Beneath Apple Manor was maybe a roguelike 2 years before Rogue was actually created, but the important thing is that each run of Rogue would be unique, and in a way that would keep people playing. Its concession for space would end up becoming its most powerful asset. Now, Rogue was stuck on mainframe computers for a while,
so
which limited
funny.
its reach to mostly university students, but eventually—
I didn't know that that's how the genre came to be, but it always is. It always is the fucking memory limitation that breeds the, like, coolest ideas you have ever seen in a video game, man.
spread, and because it appealed to nerds, those nerds ended up spawning their own takes on the idea, with games like Hack and Moria, which were, you know, kind of like Rogue. Hack was a direct fork of Rogue, as I recall, and later spawned NetHack, which is, in my opinion, the quintessential roguelike. This isn't really meant to be a history lesson, I just wanted to highlight the fact that whether intentional or not, these gameplay philosophies have been so influential that we're still invoking the name of a game developed over 43 years ago that's made out of letters and runs on a toaster. Though even today, with our vastly superior computational technologies, modern roguelikes still evoke the same general style. I mean, games like Brogue have much nicer visuals, and many choose to use tile sets instead of ASCII, but it's still all roughly the same. It's not for nostalgia.
Oh, this fucking thing is also... You know what, I should have... But like, when it comes to, what was it, Eleonora? I think it's called, right? The game is so anime coded that I thought it's kind of meant to be played with this tile set. But yeah, I guess it is like a fucking... You could play this with just symbol style set, I guess.
Instead of ASCII, but it's still all roughly the same. It's not for nostalgia. I mean, games such as Ion Fury deliberately use anachronistic game engines or styles in order to evoke an earlier era of gaming, but roguelikes have just always looked this way. It's because, despite their relative obscurity, no other genre can do what roguelikes do, and that is create the most complex and mechanically deep games known to man.
True.
Like, NetHack lets you wield the corpse of a cockatrice and smack things with it to turn them to stone, but if you smack a golem, it'll turn into the much more powerful stone golem. And if you throw it upwards without wearing a helmet, it'll fall on your head and petrify you. Step on a corpse while blind without boots, petrified. Step on it with boots but no gloves, petrified because you're also feeling your way through the dark. Seriously, the list of complex—
What? That's fucking crazy, man. Elona, yeah, I meant to say Elona.
surrounding just the cockatrice is enormous, and that's one enemy. When you cast off such restraints as graphics, real-time physics, and what have you, you're left with a lot of time to develop about 1 million complex interactions and some billion edge cases. These kinds of games have always been a bit of a playground for nerds, and it attracts a similar audience. Its strength is that it's a genre where one dedicated developer with nothing more to leverage than their own effort can break into and create something you can play for hundreds of hours. It's partially due to the unique advantages of procedural generation to create a sort of multiplicative complexity, which holds true for the more modern so-called roguelites as well. But there's also the aforementioned simplicity. Also, sometimes programmers just enjoy playing around with algorithms. So what is arguably their greatest weakness, complexity and poor visuals, are also their greatest asset, and that's why they're still around. It's perfect for solo developers, especially nerds who aren't so great at that whole art thing. I mean, to make an enemy in a game like Elden Ring takes a team and hundreds of hours modeling and rigging and animating, but the process in a roguelike is something like... perfect. Alright, obviously it's a little bit more complicated than that, but just a little bit. I feel like roguelikes are gameplay mechanics distilled to their essence. This is why they haven't evolved much since their inception. It's kind of like the horseshoe crab. You can't improve upon perfection. Seriously though, they've always been niche, and they'll continue
I mean, he ain't wrong though.
to be niche. But just like roguelites took the philosophy behind many roguelikes and added action and arcade elements, I think they'll always be an evolutionary hotbed for unique mechanics driven by one developer with a vision. Of course, even I'm using the term roguelike rather loosely, but that's another topic entirely. All in all, I'm not sure I would have been able to get into ADOM today, what with having a job and all. Sometimes getting into a roguelike is a big time investment, which some like Brogue attempt to simplify, but especially with attention spans of Zoomers eroding away into the microseconds thanks to TikTok and short-form video, it's easy to see why Rogue's more action-y namesakes have been flourishing as of late. But I think good games will always find an audience. At the bottom of the mazes is the King Minotaur. Kill him and get his axe. It has a base 40% chance to crit. Combined with Find Weakness and my cat ring, critting is almost guaranteed now.
Holy.
Normally I'd say that even with those bonuses, two-handed weapons suck and usually aren't worth the DV loss of not being able to use a shield, because doing less damage and not dying is generally preferable to the inverse. And in a game where for some reason all of the high-level enemies blatantly ignore your PV, dodging damage entirely with DV is extremely important. But I'm a barbarian. It's called role-playing. Sometimes, even if it's slightly worse, you gotta do it. I will need to train with it because all of my skill is in polearms, and that means I'll attack much slower because this whole table doesn't tell you that the main benefit of weapon skill is that it actually lowers the energy cost of attacking. Which is an incredibly important mechanic that's never explained properly, and the only way to actually see the energy cost of an action is—
I mean, ain't that the fucking classic games in a nutshell? Just wasn't explained. Then that's it. Might have been Cockatrice instead of Basilisk I was thinking about. I also thought Basilisk were a Cockatrice variant in NetHack, but I also haven't played in forever. I mean, like, but everybody gets the base idea anyway, so, you know.
to hit T and change the dynamic display in the lower right. And that's something you'd probably want to know about. Alright, back in the caverns, it's time to take on the Mana Temple. Detect traps really comes in handy here, but at the center is a bunch of stuff, and most notably, the Chaos Archmage. Make sure you're resistant to death rays, or else you'll, die. Also, never step on these altars. You will instantly die if any chaotic creature is anywhere nearby. Get the orb, and we've got all 5. We could win right now, but again, we're doing the ultimate ending. So instead, we talk to the Ancient Karmic Worm and get his quest to kill the Ancient Blue Worm. I recommend dropping everything you care about that can blow up before going down, because he attacks you if you leave before killing the other worm, and you will lose half your inventory to the constant lightning breath of the blue dragons. Get to the bottom and kill him. He's not particularly hard to kill, and then we receive a massive pile of worthless junk, but also the artifact dagger Needle. It's important because the Assassin Prince at the bottom of the Dusty Dungeon we visited a million years ago will only give his quest if you're carrying it. Also, only if you're level 45, which basically means I need to pace around in circles in a high danger area waiting for greater Molochs to spawn, because, again, experience is kind of whack. His quest is on behalf of the Mad Minstrel, and he wants us to kill the Quickling Bard, who resides in the Infinite Dungeon on the level according to the number of kills you have on your first monster kill since starting the game. If you killed a goblin first, give up. You'll need to go down to level like 200 or something, which will take over 4 hours, assuming you don't just die to the incredibly high level enemies down there. Except we killed a beggar, which never spawns anywhere else but that one town, and that means he's on the first level. He has a speed of 1000 and a DV of like 5000, so good.
That sucks, man. That sucks that you are punishing like a player at the very end of a fucking run for something they did at the very beginning of a run. Even if it's like a secret ending, man. That fucking sucks.
Good luck hitting him in melee, but a single wand of fireballs will kill him instantly. Go tell the Mad Minstrel, and he'll reveal the location of a secret cave. The cave is very dangerous, spawning the strongest enemies in the game constantly at an incredible rate. But at the bottom is this psychedelic wonderland. This place has an insane level of background corruption, so we want to kill the Emperor Moloch as quick as possible. He's slow, just like all Molochs, and despite his 200 PV, I'm able to crit him to death with my Minotaur axe relatively painlessly. But for many characters, he's just straight up impossible to kill. He drops the seemingly worthless, crumpled scroll. Reading it, it's just a picture of a trident, but if we go back to Terranio and can see invisible, we'll be able to find Kelavassar roaming around. If we give the scroll to him, he'll use it to summon the trident of the Red Rooster, the best weapon in the game. We're only missing one thing for the ultimate ending now, and that's waiting for the very specific day of the month called Dark Night, and then waiting until exactly 11 PM before attempting to enter the stone circle on the map. If you miss it, have fun.
Again, holy fuck, man. Holy fuck. Just read a guide, fucking nerd. Who the fuck figured this out first? Jesus Christ.
Waiting an entire month. By the way, this entire run up to this point is—
Oh, okay, it happens once in a month. I thought it happens like once in an in-game year and you have to wait 12 hours for the time to pass again. Jesus Christ. Once in a month is not that bad, but still, like, that specific time only, that's kinda crazy.
taken less than an in-game month. At that exact time, we'll be let in and allowed to fight the multi-headed Chaos Worm. He hits hard and likes to drain your stats several times in one turn, but throwing another cursed potion of invisibility at him puts a stop to that, and the trident takes him out pretty quickly. He drops the Crown of Chaos, and with that we've got the Trinity. I head over to my stash of items and grab the Amulet of Chaos. After some final preparation, like buffing my armor with scrolls of defense and dipping stacks of potions into other potions of exchange trying to turn them into potions of gain attributes, I'm ready for the final area. All the way at the bottom of the Caverns of Chaos, I take all 5 orbs and drop them into their special spots. The stairs turn around and lead down. There's this weird place that you need to throw items to move around, and if you throw a potion of uselessness, you'll get a free artifact. Further down is finally floor 50, and it's filled with several Servants of Chaos. I'm very powerful, and so they don't offer much of a challenge. I can take them all out by just holding down auto attack without a care. Even the Balors and the Greater Balor, which is the normal final boss, can't stand against the Trident, which is a Demon Slayer. Over here we have the Portal of Chaos. Ordinarily you'd pull the levers and shut it off, but we can do better. Because I'm a crowned champion of order wielding the Trident of the Red Rooster, I can actually jump inside. Let me tell you, finally seeing this crazy garbled mess of text and colors was really special to me back in the day.
Holy shit, that's kinda awesome though. You will have to wait hundreds of hours in-game. Holy fuck, you can skip some time if you're just waiting though.
Trident keeps us from being ripped apart, and we encounter a certain person inside. It's Andor Drakon, the main antagonist, and someone most players can't even dream of seeing. And then we die because we weren't wearing the crown or the Medal of Chaos. Which brings me to save scumming. I saved before doing this, copied the save file, and then after dying, pasted it back into the folder. I wanted to demonstrate that despite taking 12 hours to get this far, if you didn't know that, you'd be back to square one. According to Steam achievements, 1.2% of players have gotten the ultimate ending of Law, and I guarantee you that number would be a lot lower without naughty save scummers. But it's a complicated topic. Even though I can beat Adam without—
I mean, also, besides even save scamming, some people have all the achievements in their Steam games just because they use an achievement unlocker. I don't understand it. It's such a fucking stupid thing to do, like unlock achievements, because to me, achievements are a good way to gauge how many people started a game and beaten it, but then it can be thrown a little bit into disarray because some fucking stupid idiots want to go like, look, I have this rare achievement for this game. Save scamming is an obligation. Yeah, save scamming is alright. You still beaten the game, you know. Just save scamming is like a little bit of a prevention on your part against the developer being a fucking asshole or having excessive amounts of RNG. But like, yeah, achievement unlocking is fucking stupid. Like, why?
Ever dying. When I was first learning, I save scummed a lot. If you don't allow it, apparently you're just supposed to accept the fact that you're going to need to sacrifice several high-level characters before you learn how to properly enter the Chaos Gate. Either that or you're supposed to look it up, which is always way less satisfying than learning it heuristically. But behold, the real final boss, Andor Drakon. Let me tell you, he's worthy of the title. If you don't know exactly what you're doing, you're probably gonna die, as demonstrated by me letting him paralyze me once, only to get perma-paralyzed helplessly until death, just in case I wasn't getting across how unforgiving this game is. It makes me feel dirty filling up my high score sheet with multiples of the same character, but it's for the video. This time, uncurse the crown and medal of chaos as soon as you're in, take them off, and wear an amulet of free action to get paralysis resistance if you haven't found an artifact that offers it already. Also, I've quaffed a bunch of stat boosting potions, but the most useful thing I can do is use my 2 wishes from that wand I've been saving to wish for speed. That'll give me plus 200 bonus speed per wish temporarily on top of all of my potions of boost speed I've collected throughout this run just for this moment. Defeating Andor Drakon as a melee character without relying on massive speed boosts is very difficult. The atmosphere here is extremely corrupting, and unless you've got several cures on hand, it's often you'll die from the corruption alone. Again, these fights must be very boring to the casual observer. Eventually he dies. Make sure you're holding the trident when you kill him, otherwise you'll die too. He'll explode and you can collect your ultimate ending, ascending to demigod status. That's Adam, or at least it was. In the 2015 re-release, we got a bit more extra content, and another special endgame challenge. I decided to take it on with an archer this time. Now, I said that the definition of roguelike was another topic entirely, and now it is another topic entirely, so let's talk about it. So, what the heck is a roguelike? Well,
a miserable little pile of tires. But enough talk. Have at you. Same scamming is a time skip in redoing everything you previously did. Yeah, like, when you already learn a certain thing, it's kinda shitty that sometimes there are knowledge checks that instantly kill you in games like this, because then it becomes like, oh, I have to redo everything I know how to do already, just to get to that one part that I don't know yet, which is, you know, fucking stupid. I only save scammed when emulating 007 Nightfire for the underwater section. I don't know what that game is, but you just mentioning that it's a underwater section, all is forgiven.
Quite frankly, I don't know. I don't think anyone knows. In 2008, a group of nerds at a roguelike conference got together and tried to create a rigid definition. And keep in mind that this is years before Binding of Isaac or FTL, so even back then no one knew. Anyway, they created the so-called Berlin interpretation, because the conference was at Berlin, Germany. It's quite strict, yet despite that explicitly says just because it's all of these doesn't mean it's a roguelike, and just because it isn't doesn't mean it's not. So much for that. It's something at least. However, I played a little bit of this cool project called Lone Spelunker. It's got ASCII graphics, it's tile-based, turn-based, and has a million keyboard commands. It smells like a roguelike, but it's not even procedurally generated. It's based on actual caves and gives you little facts about them as you explore. I mean, is this a roguelike? I don't know, probably not, but it's certainly got roguelike elements, and it makes me think of roguelikes. And therein lies the problem. It's this complicated conflict between the semantic meaning of being like rogue versus roguelike as a literal interpretation of its core gameplay elements. Lone Spelunker is like rogue, but it is not a roguelike. And that's fair, but according to the literal Berlin interpretation...
That's... yeah... semantically that's a funny thing to, like, say. So they got together to make a definition that's not a definition. Great use of great use of everyone's time.
You could make an RPG game with ASCII graphics, permadeath, and procedural generation that was tile-based and turn-based, but because it was about, say, commanding a legion of undead to take over the world, it wouldn't be a roguelike. It would be a strategy game, presumably, even though calling it a roguelike would be much more descriptive. But even then, what's a true roguelike but a dungeon crawler? The issue is that the gameplay philosophies popularized by the original Rogue and its many likes are so ubiquitous and influential that it's difficult not to think of it when you're invoking things such as permadeath and proc-gen. I mean, if that's the defining feature of your game...
I fucking hate the sections where he has this gameplay speed up in the background because it hurts my ears so fucking much, man.
What else are you supposed to call it? It's all this big semantic soup which has no right or wrong answer.
If you're ever doing a video for YouTube, please run through your video with headphones on to see if there is something like that will actually ruin your fucking hearing before you render it.
Because you can infinitely subdivide definitions at your convenience. But language isn't really concerned with epistemological rigidity, it's about conveying information. And if the desired information can be conveyed efficiently with an existing term, well, I think that term will dominate, even if its original meaning ends up stretched or altered. I will admit, however, that it's gotten a little overstretched. I mean, at this point, you might as well call Factorio a roguelike, or real life, since, you know, it's got permadeath and was procedurally generated with algorithms so fancy we're yet to decompile them. So I can understand the desire to want to wrest back some control over the term. But I think the Berlin interpretation is needlessly restrictive and doesn't really solve anything that slapping the word traditional in front of it can't accomplish. But of course, that means you couldn't be pedantic about it anymore, and sometimes that appears to be the end goal. To me, the biggest defining factor of the more modern quote-unquote roguelikes is the addition of action to the traditional roguelike elements. You simplify the controls as well as the mechanics, improve the conveyance, and pick up the pace while still retaining the procedural generation, permadeath, and core philosophy of slowly gaining knowledge or skill across multiple runs so that you learn the game instead of memorizing it. If it's got all that, then just
Please don't tell me the rest of this video is just like that.
say, and go ahead and call that a traditional roguelike Isaac-like, and that's so 3-page. No, get to this in here, you'll get his shield.
Okay.
However, from a gameplay standpoint, I can't. Anyway.
I'm just gonna skip that rant because I fucking can't listen to that anymore.
The new
Holy.
content in Adam, you need to make sure to talk to the Dwarven Elder about Rolf before completing his quests. If you're
And
lawful-
I'm not talking about the rant, everything he says about roguelikes is actually fucking interesting, and that's the shame of it, but like the background noise is just ruining the experience, so...
he's guaranteed to give you Rolf's axe. And if you talk to the Dwarven Mystic in here, you'll get his shield. Then you need to assemble all 6 parts of a map. It's really tedious, so I'm not going to bother explaining it. Okay, put that together and you get access to Rolf's fortress. If you have auto pickup on, everything will try to obliterate you because for some reason picking up their garbage is worthy of death, but walking in isn't. You enter this big hall with tons of enemies trying to get at Rolf, but are blocked by some magical force. And guess what? It blocks you as well if you've ever killed a dwarf. Usually it's not an issue because they're not hostile when you're lawful, but sometimes you don't even realize you killed one because they can spawn hostile in special vaults. So the entire point of my previous run role-playing as a dwarven weaponsmith was completely moot, and I had to start over with this archer because I didn't know that little tidbit of information, and restarting was punishment for my foolishness of wanting to experience the new stuff without looking anything up.
Ah, yes. Classic roguelike experience.
See, I'm showing rather than telling you that sometimes this kind of trial and error gameplay can be really annoying.
Yep.
Okay, so you go inside and you meet Rolf. If you give him his axe and his shield back, he'll give you a quest to slay the Stone Dragon King. His lair is super dark and he can do lots of damage with his stone breath, but as an archer you can cheat a bit and shoot dragons from places where their breath attack can't reach, since it's only a straight line in one of the 8 directions. If you kill him, he'll drop his heart, and you can go give that to Rolf and get an upgraded version of the axe and shield you gave him. Which are good, but what's really funny is that if you use it while carrying the Chaos Orb of Elemental Fire, you'll corrupt it and cause the apocalypse. The map starts getting covered with mountains and volcanoes start to appear, and Rolf is like, "You started the apocalypse, you idiot," and then says something about true love or whatever. Inside the volcanoes is just a bunch of caves as well as some magma, which you can swim through like it's nothing with fire immunity, but if you don't have the swimming skill, you'll still drown. So you're supposed to put...
That's actually hilarious, man. I think the process of accessing FromSoft's DLC was inspired by Adam quests. Maybe, but like, that didn't translate well into that fucking stupid Artorias of the Abyss DLC from Dark Souls 1. Holy shit, man. Stone Dragon King. More games need a game names like that. Oh yeah, agree. The ultimate night terror, the Dragon King, Abla Zulabla, the Immortal. Hey, Terraria had the same thing for... I mean, I ask for what specifically, but... Oh, you mean the drowning? Yeah. You get the potion that makes you immune to lava, then you drown inside it. Kinda true, yeah. I thought you were talking about... Terraria also had like a lot of very specific things you needed to do to unlock certain bosses that were very hard to figure out if you didn't look it up.
2 and 2 together that the random drunk guy in Terranio who keeps complaining about his wife is actually the ex-husband of the Ice Queen, and that if you find this super secret room filled with ancient booze in Rolf's fortress, you can give it to him to get him as a companion. Then if you bring him all the way across the map to the Ice Queen's domain and bring him all the way through her annoying castle and to her throne room, when they meet you'll learn that apparently she thought he was dead and so he was cursed to be a drunken idiot. She undoes the spell and he turns into the Archmage, and they're so in love that all the ice leaves her body and cools down all the volcanoes around and stops the apocalypse. Hooray. So that's the main thing, but if you really want to get to the secret content, you need to go to the bottom of the Minotaur maze, find the weird fire starter, and hold on to that thing until you beat the game normally. Instead of going inside the Chaos Portal, I just close it normally and then climb all the way back up. Instead of leaving and winning, if you go over to a dormant volcano and use the weird fire starter, you can summon the ultimate dungeon. It's just another 10 levels of random dungeon with a very high danger level and very experienced monsters, but at the bottom is this big hall. There's several scary monsters down here, and they're all extremely experienced, meaning that they're much more dangerous than normal. But I'm an archer, the strongest class in the game. There's tons of Molochs and even an Emperor Moloch, but really they stand no chance. Finally, I see the final opponent, the Supreme Balor. He's got tons of HP, deals tons of damage, and attacks several times at once, but that's nothing a blessed arrow of demon slaying can't solve. Yeah, archers. They don't crit like melee characters. They can deal double, triple, up to quintuple damage on a really good shot. So I knock him down to half HP with just a single good crit.
Jesus
He dies
Christ.
and drops the Scroll of Omniscience, which does nothing. It's completely unreadable and probably some placeholder for future content. But just like it was after 2002, ADOM development seems to have entered a bit of a stasis. I sacrificed it to my god for fun and then leave, concluding another 15-hour run I did just for this video. That's about everything, really.
That's kinda unsatisfying that it's not even like an ending or a thing, you know? Do you at least get a Steam achievement or something? Man, tell you what, I don't think it's fair to do this. Like, you have a whole dungeon and like a secret boss, and the reward is a placeholder item. I think that content should only be accessible when it's fully fleshed out. So like, you know, you go down there, you read a scroll, and then it's like one of the secret endings for like other alignments, because he had like a super heroic alignment ending with slaying that guy in the Chaos Realm or whatever.
Except for the run where I played as a wizard and wanted to demonstrate how to get infinite wishes by going to the sinister library of Niltrias and getting the wish spellbook. Except the wish costs so much to cast at first that you're required to use your health as mana, and I thought I had enough, but I starved to death because it reduces satiation to use your health, and I thought I ate a Blestomophilia herb, but it was actually cursed and I didn't have enough food and died. Imagine opening the door to find the emaciated remains of the most powerful wizard in the realm and wondering what the hell happened. And that was 20 hours down the drain because I'm an idiot. And then I decided to do it all again, only to write this script and decide that it didn't quite fit anywhere except for here as an expression of pain. So yeah, I can wish as many times as I want. Woohoo. I could go on and on with my criticisms of this game, like how the Fire Orb has its own really cool area on the overworld, while all the others are just kind of lame offshoots of the main dungeon. But this video's not about that. I just wanted to talk about roguelikes as a whole, with ADOM as a prominent example. Yes, roguelikes have always had a special place in my heart, and even though this video won't have the broadest appeal, I hope I've given you some kind of appreciation for them too. Even if you're not ready to dive into the ASCII graphics quite yet, maybe next time you start up a run of what have you, you'll think about all of those beautiful ASCII characters that paved the way before. Seriously.
I mean, this fucking game seems great, man. Like, I probably would play with tile sets, but I definitely like need to look into giving this a shot because it sounds fucking cool.
Get into roguelikes. Get into roguelike development. That'd take a hell of a lot of effort to get into, but I played 100 hours of ADOM to make this video and the time just flew by. You don't need fancy graphics to make something compelling, you just need something fun. Honestly, Breath of the Wild started out as a top-down game to experiment with its mechanics, so if you got an idea for a neat little game mechanic, maybe throw it together like a roguelike. Anyway, I've got to thank my lovely patrons who indulge me in making these videos before I'm sent back to the Factorio mines. I'll see you all again later. Oh wait, there's actually one more secret ending. If you read a scroll of entropy next to Andor Dracon, it gets turned into nothingness and then the entire world starts collapsing as everything gets sucked.
Jesus fucking Christ. That's just a game that keeps on giving. Oh my god. And yeah, that was a game called ADOM and the Legacy of Roguelikes by a channel I keep forgetting. DoshDoshington. In my defense, that's kind of a very weird nickname that is hard to remember, but this sounds like it has a problem where you play it before the sun rises and finish after the sun sets. Yeah, just like time turns into a fucking liquid spilling into a desert, man. It just goes by like this. Cool game, cool video. Yeah, definitely. My curiosity was kinda satiated. I thought he's gonna go more into the general history of roguelikes, but that's okay. Just talking about ADOM is enough. And like, what a crazy game for crazy people, man. That was fucking good. And if you're watching later on YouTube, thank you for sitting, like, however, this video is gonna be so long. Thank you for sitting with me for however long this took. My god, that was a lot of looking at the symbols, and they started speaking to me midway through, which is a curse and a blessing at the same time. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one, whatever that video might be.